Is there anything more on this trade, or should we quickly talk about Steph Curry potentially missing some time and what we think about that?
Yeah.
Steph Curry has an injury that I didn't understand. It's beyond my vocabulary. They did not put a timetable on it.
I've never seen an injury like this, actually.
I've been told I'm prepping for a month based on what I've been told. I think it could be less, but less just gets you to All-Star, so they're not going to bring him back for a game before All-Star. It could be more. If it doesn't, it could be 5-6 weeks.
From what I understand, the injury is not that severe in terms of structural damage, but it's very painful. And so, and so that's, but again, I'm not an orthopedist, but go ahead.
So if he misses a month, that's about 12 to 13 games. And this is, we did this last time, and I cautioned people against it. Like, there's always this panic about, oh my God, they're doomed. Look where they are in the standings. They're going to fall. And then you wake up and they're like, oh, they went 5-5 without Steph Curry. They're 7-8 for the season without Steph Curry. Wiggins missed a bunch of those games too. He's back. He still kind of doesn't look like Wiggins yet, but he's fine. Their schedule over those 12 to 13 games is pretty easy. Not pretty easy. It's just middling. In fact, weirdly, 7 of those 12 games are against either the Lakers, the Clippers, or the Blazers, who are all in their sort of stratosphere.
How many are at home? That's all I care about.
It's even. It's pretty even. But okay. 3 of their next 12 games are against the Lakers. He's going to miss 3 Lakers games.
As ESPN's Zach Lowe pointed out in his podcast, the Golden State Warriors shouldn't push the panic button just yet, despite Steph Curry being expected to miss a couple of games due to his left leg injury. As of today, the Dubs are sitting near the bottom of the playoff race in the West, but if you take a look at the rest of the field, you can see that they're only about 3 to 3.5 games behind the 3rd seed. And if they manage to stack up some wins, then it's going to be just like 2022 all over again. Cause if you remember, the Dubs finished 3rd in the regular season last year. And you know what happened right after that, so it's best not to count out the Dubs just yet. Anyways, according to several sources, there's no clear timetable yet on when Steph Curry will return, but as Lowe said earlier, this shouldn't be a cause for concern for the Dubs, cause their upcoming schedule looks pretty manageable to say the least. See, here are the next 16 games, and if we're going to take a quick look at these teams, you can see that this is a winnable stretch for the Dubs, because they pretty much own their season series matchup against below 500 teams like the Lakers, OKC, Wizards, and the Rockets, and they've also defeated some heavyweight playoff teams like the Grizzlies and the Clippers earlier this season. Now, by my projection, the Dubs can win 9 out of 7 games in this stretch, with 7 wins being my conservative estimation. Now, there's also a slim chance that the Dubs could only win 6 games, but I highly doubt that they'll win fewer games than that. Because as this graphic shows, the Dubs are really not a bad team without Steph per se, and they actually had an 8-9 record when Curry was out this season. So with all these things considered, the Dubs should be just fine where they are right now. Now, the reason why I'm confident in saying this is because the Dubs would always find a way to win ball games simply because they're built as a team. As opposed to teams run by superstars, the Warriors have a system in place to make things work, even without their main guns. I mean, Klay was out for almost the entire first half of last season due to his Achilles injury. But despite that, the Dubs still managed to stay afloat and found a way to patch things up until he eventually got back into the lineup. Now, the big reason behind this was that Jordan Poole filled Klay's shoes as he had a breakout season last year, and JP3's transition couldn't be possible without the system that I mentioned earlier. Anyways, the point that I'm driving here is that the Dubs can still win some ball games even without their superstar, because they play team basketball like no other, and they're just on a different level when they're playing as a cohesive unit regardless of the available pieces. I mean, look here. This was originally a play they usually run for Steph, but since he's not in the lineup, Jordan Poole takes his place in the meantime. As Draymond calls out the play, JP3 just runs underneath the basket and then uses Kevon Looney's pinned down screen to get himself open and knock down this corner 3. Now, speaking of JP3, he played like Curry that night against the Blazers by dropping 38 points while tying his season high by splashing 7 threes, and this is just a perfect example that the Dubs can still put up a good fight even without the chef. And to add to this, JP3 actually averaged 28.2 points while shooting 43.7% from the field, 32% from downtown, and almost 89% from the foul line in those 17 games where Steph was out this season. Anyways, aside from JP3, Klay Thompson has been playing big for the Warriors as of late, and he too will have big shoes to fill in the next couple of weeks as they're waiting for Steph to come back. But just like JP3, it's never been a problem for Klay if the other half of the Splash Brothers is nowhere to be found. Cause as you can see here, Klay is just perfectly fine in carrying the offensive load for the Dubs, as he averaged 20.4 points while shooting 44% from the field, almost 40% from 3, and 85.8% from the charity stripe in 110 games, where his backcourt partner sat out. As I kept saying earlier, the Dubs system is like a well-oiled machine that uses interchangeable parts to keep things rolling, and Klay is no stranger to this, as he can also play the role of Steph Curry, just like JP3 to a T. The split action is the Dubs' bread and butter in their offensive set, and here you can see that Klay acted as if he was Steph, because after his defender went over the screen, Klay just knocked this 3-ball down without any hesitation. And in case you didn't notice, Klay also dropped 31 points in that game, while hitting 7 threes just like JP3, without the help of Stephen Curry, and if we're going to use this as a base sample, then we can pretty much assume that the Dubs won't be encountering any scoring problems in the next couple of weeks while Steph is out. Now, on top of this, here's another great news for all the Warriors fans. With this 31-point outing against the Blazers, Klay Thompson seems to be peaking at the right time and slowly getting back to his old all-star form, cause if you take a look at his production in the last 15 games, Klay has been averaging 26.8 points and 4.1 rebounds while shooting 46.2% from the field, 44.7 from 3, and 94.1% from the free throw line. And when Steph finally gets back from his injury, then we might just see the most lethal version of the Dubs, with both JP3 and Klay clicking at the same time as the playoffs are closing in. Anyways, apart from the stellar play of JP3 and Klay, Andrew Wiggins is also picking up steam after he sat out 15 games last year because of an injury. Ever since he returned to the lineup, Wiggins has been averaging 13.2 points, 4.7 rebounds, 2.5 assists, while shooting 40% from the field across 13 games. Now, if we're going to look at the big picture, Wiggins is the Dubs' 4th leading scorer this season, averaging just a tick below 17 a ball game while having 53 to 40 to 60 shooting splits. And just like JP3 and Klay, Wiggins is also pretty reliable when it comes to putting up points in the scoreboard. See, in this play, Wiggins kinda mimics Steph right here with the way he runs around and uses the screens to free himself and shoot this wide open three-pointer. And once again, no Steph Curry, no problem for the Dubs. From the clips that we just saw and the records, as well as the stats that we've broken down, the Warriors are going to be just fine in the upcoming weeks, despite not having Steph in their corner. And as a matter of fact, this can actually be the best thing that happened to them if we're going to take a look at it from another perspective. I mean, since they're a man down, other players will have no choice but to step up and chip in more than they used to. Like Jonathan Kuminga, who's been averaging 11 points in his last 10 games, as well as other role players like DiVincenzo, Anthony Lamb, and Ty Jerome. Now with that being said, their game will definitely grow during this tough stretch without Steph. And when that happens, the Warriors are going to be a scarier team by the time Steph finally gets back, because everybody will be producing and contributing more on both ends of the floor. And with that, that's definitely going to be some really bad news for the rest of the league. That's all for today, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, until next time.